Good morning, class 9 students. I'm continuing today matter. So let's start with Archimedes principle. Archimedes principle states that the upward buoyant force that is exerted on a body immersed in a fluid, whether fully or partially submerged, this equal to the weight of the fluid that the body displaces. Archimedes' principle is a law of physics fundamental to fluid mechanics. The reasoning behind the Archimedes principle is that the buoyancy force on an object depends on the pressure exerted by the fluid on its submerged surface. Imagine that we replace the submerged part of the object with the fluid in which it is contained. See the diagram. Archimedes principle, an example of Archimedes principle rather has been shown over here. In first diagram, an object is lowered into a container of water. Second diagram, the object displaces water which flows into a smaller container. And in the C diagram, when the object is completely submerged, the volume of the displaced water equals to the volume of the object. Hope so you have understood Archimedes' principle after seeing this diagram specially. So Archimedes' principle states that a body partly or fully immersed in a fluid at rest appears to lose a part of its weight, which is equal to the weight of the fluid displaced. A small piece of stone is tied with a hook of a spring balance. Suppose the spring of the balance gets stretched and shows the weight of the stone. Let this weight be W1. Now the stone is dipped completely in water in a vessel fitted with a side spout. It is found that extension of the spring decreases, showing new weight W2 of the stone, and the overflowing water is collected in a small beaker. This shows that a body loses weight when immersed in a liquid. Now find the weight of water collected. It is found that this weight is equal to the weight of the stone. This proves Archimedes' principle. Now buoyancy and flotation. When an object is immersed in a fluid or liquid, it experiences an upward force known as buoyant force. This phenomenon of experiencing an upward force is known as buoyancy. When any boat displaces a weight of water equal to its own weight, it floats. This is often called the principle of flotation. A floating object displaces a weight of fluid equal to its own weight. Archimedes' principle, as stated above, equates the buoyant force to the weight of the fluid displaced. That means buoyancy and flotation both are interconnected. Now see the diagram. In the first one, that ball is floating. That is, it is halfly merged. Here also buoyant force is upward direction, and when that particular ball is sinking, in the second case of in the diagram, there also buoyant force is upward force. Okay? So you can say when a body is immersed partly or fully in a fluid, it appears to become lighter. This occurs due to the fact that the fluid exerts an upward thrust or a buoyant force on the immersed object. As this force acts in a direction opposite to the weight of the body, so an apparent loss in weight is felt. Apparent loss, not the proper loss. Feels like. Not the proper loss this is a feels like that weight is decreasing. So an apparent loss in weight is felt, which is not real. The upward thrust which any fluid exerts upon a body partly or fully immersed in it is called its buoyancy. Let us take two wooden blocks of different sizes. Now the two blocks are pushed in turn in a tub filled with water. Each of the blocks rises up and come to the surface of water due to buoyant upward force acting on each of them. It is found that larger block comes to the surface faster than the smaller one. So the buoyant force or upthrust acting on the larger block is more than the smaller. Now if some amount of salt be added in the water and on pushing a block inside the salt solution, the block rises to the surface faster. This is because on adding salt, the density of the salt solution becomes more than the pure water and so buoyant force is more here. This actually occurs, this is the last thing after adding the salt. This actually occurs when a ship from river, it goes to, it enters the sea. When it enters the sea, it will submerge, obviously. That means halfly merged. And when it was in river, that time also it was halfly merged. But in case of sea, it is less submerged than river. Why? Because all of us know that sea water is more salty than river water. So this is a very common example from our life. Now, laws of flotation or flotation of a body. When a body is partly or wholly immersed in a liquid at rest, two vertical forces simultaneously act on it. The forces are, first one, the weight W of the body acting downwards, and second one, the weight W dash of the displaced liquid acting vertically upwards. Depending on the values of W and W dash, some cases may arise. First case, if W greater than W dash, that is, when the weight of the body is greater than the weight of the liquid displaced, then the body sinks. See the second diagram now. Laws of flotation, some substances float while some others sink. So here the ball is sinking. That means here its W greater than W dashed. That means its own weight is greater than the upward thrust or buoyancy. That's why it is sinking. Now number B. If W is equal to W dash, that is, when the weight of the body is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced, then the body floats completely immersed anywhere within the liquid. That you can say, in the third diagram, you can say the roles of the centers of buoyancy and gravity in determining how a swimmer floats. So, in the first case of swimming, you see buoyant force acting through the center of buoyancy and gravitational force acting through the center of gravity. That's a two different point, but this is the point. That girl is swimming straight. So here W is equal to W dash. Number C. If W is less than W dash, that is, when the weight of the body W is less than the weight of the liquid displaced in completely immersed state, then the body floats partly immersed in the liquids with the condition that weight of the body is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced by the immersed portion of the liquid. That actually happens in case of, you can see the second diagram, that bowl is there. It is also half floating, and the first diagram, laws of flotation, floating boat has been shown. It is also, see, displaced water, the boat is less dense than the water, so it displaces a mass equal to its own instead of sinking. That's why it is half floating. Okay, so this is the justification of these three conditions of flotation from your book. I have shown diagrammatically. But one more extra diagram I have given in case of third diagram, state of floating equilibrium where the buoyant and gravitational forces are aligned. The distance between the centers of buoyancy and gravity determines the angle at which the swimmer floats. That means when a swimmer making an angle with the upper surface of water, that means the two centers, one is center of buoyancy and another one is center of gravity. Two centers, the distance between the two centers are decreasing. Always remember this. This is the extra point that I am adding. It is also seen that an object floats on the liquid if density of the object is lesser than the density of the liquid, and it sinks in the liquid if the density of the object be greater than the density of the liquid. On the other hand, if the density of the object is equal to the density of the liquid, then the body would float anywhere, being completely immersed in the liquid. Now, conditions of equilibrium of a floating body. A floating or submerged body is said to be stable if it comes back to its original position after giving a slight disturbance. The condition of stability of these bodies depends on the position of its metacenter, center of buoyancy, and center of gravity. Center of buoyancy and center of gravity already it has been discussed. Now, what is metacenter? Metacenter is defined as a point about which a body starts oscillating when the body is tilted by a small angle. That particular center is called metacenter. It is the point at which the line of action of the force of buoyancy will meet the normal axis of the body when the body is given small angular displacement. Now, what is this? See this diagram. Stability of floating body. Case A. Stable equilibrium if the point M is above G. See the first diagram. Second one is unstable equilibrium if the point M is below G. And third one is neutral equilibrium if the point M is at G. So you can say that the weight of the floating body must be equal to the weight of the liquid displaced. And number two, the center of gravity of the body and the center of gravity of the displaced liquid must be in the same vertical line. Generally, the former is above the latter. For a completely immersed body, the former should be below the latter. Now, apparent weight. What is this? True weight actually the product of mass and gravitational acceleration, which is equal to mg. All of you must know that W is equal to mg, where the apparent weight is the sum of net forces when you standing in elevator and elevator is moving either upwards or downwards, either high speed or low speed. Then you feel your weight heavier or lighter. In general, an object's apparent weight is its mass multiplied by the vector difference between the gravitational acceleration and the acceleration of the object. Now see the diagram. True weight versus apparent weight. See the first case. If the elevator is accelerating upwards, the apparent weight will be more than the true weight. You get a heavier feeling as the elevator starts to move up. The second diagram. Third diagram, if the elevator is accelerating downwards, the apparent weight is less than the true weight. You feel lighter as the elevator starts to move down. And see the fourth diagram. If the elevator is in free fall, that is A, acceleration A is equal to G, that means acceleration due to gravity, both are equal, then apparent weight is 0. That means you will feel weightlessness. So these are the four cases which from which I hope so you have understood what is the actual idea of apparent weight. So when a body is fully immersed in a liquid, there is an apparent loss in its weight. which is equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by it. So apparent weight of a body completely immersed in a fluid is the difference of its actual weight and weight of the fluid displaced by it. Thus, if weight of the body is equal to W1, weight of the fluid displaced by the body is equal to W2, and apparent weight of the body is equal to W dash, then you can say apparent weight, that is W dash, is equal to W1 by minus W2. That means weight of the body minus weight of the fluid displaced by the body. Now, density and relative density. Density is the ratio between the mass and the volume of a body. Relative density, on the other hand, is the ratio between the density of an object, that is substance, and the density of some other reference object or substance at some given temperature. Density is measured in, while relative density is dimensionless. Relative density has no unit because it is the ratio of same units which gets cancelled or reduced. So relative density is equal to density of the substance divided by density of water at 4 degrees Celsius. So there is a difference between density and relative density. Density is defined as mass per unit volume. Relative density is defined as the ratio of density of the substance to density of water at 4 degrees Celsius. Second point, density is value. Value of density is different in different systems of measurement. But value of relative density is the same in all systems of measurement. Number 3 points. Units of density are gram per centimeter cube and kg per centimeter cube. But relative density doesn't have any unit. So density of a substance is its mass per unit volume. Thus, density rho is equal to mass by volume, or m by v. Its SI unit is kg per meter cube and CGS unit is gram per centimeter cube. Relative density of a substance is the ratio of the density of the substance to the density of pure water at 4 degrees Celsius. So you can say relative density of a substance is equal to density of the substance divided by density of pure water at 4 degrees Celsius. That means equal to mass of unit volume of the substance. Instead of density we can write divided by mass of unit volume of water at 4 degrees Celsius, or equal to, you can write mass of any volume of the substance divided by mass of same volume of water at 4 degrees Celsius, equal to, at last it is coming, relative density is equal to weight of any volume of the substance divided by weight of same volume of water at 4 degrees Celsius. As relative density is the ratio of two similar quantities, so it is a pure number having no unit and has the same value in any system of unit. Now here I have shown relative density by a diagram. You see, first diagram relative density and second diagram. In first diagram, relative density is greater than 1. That's why that ball sinks. And in the second diagram, relative density is less than 1. That's why the ball floats. Now I have given one example. A 250 cubic centimeter bottle of oil has a net mass of 189 gram. Calculate the density and relative density of the oil and state whether the oil will float or sink in water. How to do the sum? Mass M is equal to 189 gram. Volume V is equal to 250 cubic centimeter or centimeter cube. Therefore, density is equal to mass by volume, or rho is equal to m by v. So, after putting the value and after calculation, you will get 0.756 gram per centimeter cube. This is the density. Then what is relative density? Relative density is equal to density of oil divided by density of water. That means after putting the value, it's coming 0.756 gram per centimeter cube divided by 1 gram per centimeter cube. So ultimately it is coming 0.756. This is the relative density. Since 0.756 is greater than 0 but less than 1, so the oil will float in water. Hope so you have understood this example. See, in your book there are lots of examples and sums are there in every chapter, like work, power, energy, matter, and other chapters also, force and motion. Let me first complete the theoretical syllabus, then I will start, obviously I'll start doing the sums on the board so that you can understand it more precisely. Thank you students. For any doubts or queries, please email me at sudeshna1.sma@outlook.com. Even you need to mail your physical science assignments in this given email ID.